Good morning. Good morning.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to another edition of the Morning Deuce, live from Boston, Massachusetts. This is now the third different city I've recorded the Deuce in the past week. So, dedication to the craft. I missed Tuesday. I'm sorry. Vacation mode, had to reset my brain. Never had an opportunity to do it. But I did get to sit with a friend and do an awesome interview for this Friday's Morning Deuce as I continue my Friday interviews. The first thing we need to get to is the pee on your shoes bet is at its peak. For those of you that don't remember, there is a person that I work with who is as competitive as I am, and right before the season, or maybe the first week into the season, he bet that Cleveland would win the NBA championship, and he gave me the field. And the winner gets to pee on the loser's shoes. That's what I put up for stakes. So now we know that Cleveland is in the finals. They look great. They're healthy this year. It's a rematch of last year's finals. But thanks to an incredible comeback, down 3-1, some unbelievable three-point shooting, Golden State, which is they won 73 games this year, the most ever in an NBA season. They're in the finals. So I feel like my chances are pretty good, slightly more than 50%. But someone is getting peed on, which arguably is more intense than, playing in the game. I mean, they're playing for rings, pride, glory. I'm playing for pride, glory, and dry feet. So it's pretty much the same thing. So it'll be interesting to see how that shakes out. I'm going to be watching every game intently as I hope to mark my territory on the feet of a loser. I'm in Boston. I was here for my brother's graduation. I'm going to fix graduations, and I'm going to fix them right now. Commencement ceremonies are the worst, and everyone knows it. They're horrible. They're horrible for all the people who were graduating in their caps and gowns. 2,900 were at the ceremony that I went to. It was awful. They're horrible for all the parents and the families who, come from a long way to sit in an audience very far away, listen to people they don't care about speak, and usually the speakers are horrible, and the valedictorians 98% of the time have horrible speeches. It's so boring. This time I spent most of it teaching my dad and my older sisters and brother how to face swap on Snapchat. So I gave my sister and my brother-in-law, they switched faces, and I put my dad's face on mine and saw the future and learned what I was going to look like in 60 years. Sorry, Dad, you're not 60 years older than me, but you get what I'm saying. That's what we spent the commencement speech doing. And it's because the whole process is awful. It takes like 3-4 hours to call everyone's name. It's so dumb. Everything's awful. We need to speed up the process. We need to get through everything faster. There should be no more awards. There should be an intro, the valedictorian speech or whatever, the guy who represents the class, the commencement address, and then the names. And then we're just out of there. And honestly, the names should be just called 7 to 10 at a time. And all 10 of them should just get to walk up, get their diploma, stand, wave, bow, and then the next group of 10. And we should just go in groups of 10 because you know what? That's as much spotlight as you need. If every name is called and they just go boom, 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 and then 10. But to just go boom, 1, 2, boom, 1. Oh my God, it's miserable. I'm up there. My eyes are bleeding out of my skull. It's horrible. But the valedictorian speech, this is where I'm fixing things. The valedictorian speech at this was so terrible. Basically, he did with the old, when I was young, they asked me what I wanted to be, and I took a couple crayons and drew about an astronaut because I wanted to see what's out there, and now we're graduating, so let's see what's out there. But it should have been that. It should have been that 1-minute speech. Instead, it was 15 minutes, and it was not good. It was probably 10 minutes, but it was not good. It was horrible. And so this is what I'm going to do. If you guys have seen Best Man with Kevin Hart, he is a hired best man for men's weddings where the groomsmen don't have any friends. It's a great movie. Underrated. Saw it with Desmond. We both loved it. Underrated. I am going to do that for valedictorian speeches for college. I'm going to be a hired gun because let's look at this. No one knows who the valedictorian at their college is. When they announce it, 99.9% of the people don't even know who that guy is. Took all the weirdest classes. He stayed in the library all the time. I'll just go up there and fake it. I'll give a great address. The first thing I would do, make it interactive. We're at an arena, there's a Jumbotron. Immediately, the first thing I'm going to do is, hey, we got a hashtag. The hashtag is blank college graduation, whatever it is. Put the hashtag out. Someone runs the hashtag. All the graduates are on their phone anyway. Everyone in the audience is on their phone everywhere. Anyway, they can hashtag messages up onto the Jumbotron. You play them up there. Pictures, text, whatever. Then people are engaged. They're kind of listening, but they're part of the ceremony. They feel okay about it. And you get the college trending in the local area, so you're doing free advertising for the college. Boom, social media awareness. People are looking at it, and it's working so that the speech goes along faster. Everyone's involved. Solve process 1. Process 2, every valedictorian speech should be interactive. I'd be standing up there making the crowd clap every time I said something. Every time I said a phrase that I want to drive home, it was like, I can do this, fight through adversity, like whatever the phrase is like. And then I thought to myself, I can do this, boom, and everyone claps. And every time I say I can do this, they can clap. Then people in the audience are engaged. You get 2,000 people clapping, they listen to the speech. Boom, killed that. And I would just be up there, and people wouldn't know that I didn't go to the school. I'd be like, hey, Karen, remember that time, we're working so hard in the library, we fell asleep on our desks? No, you don't, because you were working so hard you didn't even see me there. That's what I'm talking about. Boom, keep it going. Keep the light on my feet. I'm moving. Maybe I'll have a plant in the audience who yells something about me. Crushed. Just get through that. And then people are saying, well, like, what about when you get older? You're already in your late 20s. Like, how are you going to keep this going? When you get gray and hair in your beard and all this stuff. So, well, then I'll just make it a little bit of a sob story. I'll be like, hey, took me a while to get to this road. I was in the coal mines of West Virginia working as the youngest of 6-7 kids. And they all got their college education. And I realized, coal powers the world, but nothing powers my life like the gift of an education. And so I figured out how to get to the University of, and then I looked down at a piece of paper and I'm like, Cincinnati. And I came here to tell everyone that they too can be more valuable than the core. I've been to the core of the earth. I've found the material that drives every single day. But what drives my life and what drives my heart is the value of this education. And I just go with it. Boom. That's why I have gray hair in my beard. Crushed it. Interactive, fun, getting people to clap, getting people to move, getting the hashtag going. Advertising for the college, advertising. And then I just make sure at the end I tell them to hashtag, tell their hot friends, and crush a couple ladies. And then I have like a every 6-year rule with each college. You can only hit me up once every 6 years. So that way, if a junior goes to see their friend who's a senior who graduated, they're not like, oh, the valedictorian's the same. But every 6 years, people aren't going to the same college every 6 years. And by then, I'll look different enough. They can give me a different fake name. Nobody's going to remember anyway. Because, people say like, oh, what about the morals and the ethics of college degrees? It doesn't sound very ethical. Well, most of these colleges are involved in the NCAA, and that's basically making millions and millions, if not billions of dollars off of free labor from college athletes. Like the basketball tournament. They don't let people play professionally until they're 19. But they don't do that because they want people to get education or whatever, blah, blah, blah. It's because there's like I think it was this year, it was like a $13 billion. Yeah, I think it was $13 billion the NCAA basketball tournament TV contract was valued at, or that's how much money it would generate. That has nothing to do with whether or not they care about a 19-year-old kid versus an 18-year-old kid. They don't care. That 1 year of college isn't going to change anyone's life. The basketball tournament ends in March. Those guys just need to be academically eligible for one semester. They take a bunch of joke classes. They don't try to get to a major, and boom, they're out of there. No one cares about that stuff. They're just trying to make money. These organizations, they don't care. They're just businesses like everyone else, and that's why the student loan crisis is so crazy and college education is so overpriced. So, they've already compromised on all those morals and ethics. Why not just, compromise on the morals and ethics of the valedictorian speech to make it better for everyone? Great business decision. Make everyone happy. They're going to leave being like, oh, he was funny, hilarious, memorable enough that we'll love it, but not so memorable that he's going to bring the house down and, make YouTube forever and people will start to know my gag. And I'll dye my hair if I have to, if you guys pay me enough. Boom, hired hitter. So there you go, just solved valedictorian speeches and commencement addresses because they're terrible. The entire speech, the entire process, max 1 hour and 15 minutes. And that's if you have a really good speaker. Because I've been to one where John Kerry was at. And when it wasn't his time to speak, he spent the whole time in the background half talking to people, and then his eyes were closed for most of it. He doesn't care. Nobody cares. The parents don't care. Nobody cares. That's the end of part 1 today. For part 2, we're switching gears. This is what part 2 is about. I had a great conversation earlier. This Friday's guest is it's going to be kind of a interesting thing about positive psychology and taking control of your own life. But today I'm talking a little bit more about putting your brain on autopilot. And basically what that means to me is I read some information about how we spend so much of our day judging our own selves, either playing jury or playing victim. And what that means is you're playing jury, either making yourself feel bad, deciding whether or not you made good decisions, making yourself feel bad about eating a cookie, making yourself feel bad about not working out, making yourself feel good about working out instead of just organically feeling that way, forcing yourself to feel good about it, forcing yourself to feel bad about something, constantly in judgment about yourself, or you spend a lot of your day feeling victimized, feeling the victim. Oh, I work so hard and Gabby doesn't work so hard. How come she gets more opportunities than me? How come this person has a better job than me, a better relationship than me, a cuter spouse than me when I do this, this, and this, and it's not fair. I'm just treated unfairly. Well, sometimes to drown that out, we do what's called, or at least I do, and I know others do, you kind of put your brain on autopilot by distracting it. I spoke with someone who had 2 great high school friends who both became Buddhist monks for 10 years, and they just recently stopped. And so the question we talked about, well, what changed so much since 2006? And it was really the instantaneous information sharing. Smartphones were minimal, if existing at all, in 2006, and now they're prevalent everywhere. But what it is you have that ability to put your brain on autopilot. You can look at screens all the time. And there's days where, to make myself not play jury or victim, I constantly occupy my brain. And I occupy my brain, by that I mean I wake up, I check Facebook, I check Instagram, I distract myself with people all around me, looking at Snapchat, doing this. You see something cool, you're so in the moment of taking a picture of it, you don't always experience it. You're constantly distracting your brain. And then maybe you throw on a podcast like this, but not one where you're listening to it actively, something you're listening to passively in the background. That or music, and then you got a couple other things, and you're driving and you have a phone call that's super superficial with somebody, and you get to work and you're at work and you might have a job that you're not passionate about, so you're kind of running on autopilot at work, and you're running on autopilot at work all day, and you get home and maybe you listen to some more podcasts, or there's background TV on all the time, and you make food, you sit down, you watch TV that's mind-numbing. And then you go to bed and you realize your whole time you kept your brain completely occupied by things that were pretty much irrelevant. And you're doing that to distract yourself from your own consciousness sometimes, from letting yourself play jury or play victim because you don't want to do that. Well, the fact of the matter is we have to rid ourselves, as hard as it may be, from judgment of ourselves as a victim, or from judgment as ourselves as everything we do is a positive or negative, and instead attempt to create the existence we want. And that's kind of, I guess, a little bit of a foreshadowing of what's going on Friday. But instead, maybe set an alarm on something that's not your phone. Or try not to check it. Or try to give yourself an hour after this podcast, or a drive to work where you're meditative, you're present, you're in thought, you're looking at things that are going by. I had a 2-hour road trip recently, and someone dared me not to speak. They didn't think I could make it back without talking. And I went 35 minutes on the way back without talking until they, were like, just talk, whatever, it's getting annoying. But at first I was just doing it to kind of be contrarian, but I realized how much more I was paying attention to the observations of the road and the feelings and emotions of the other people in the car, and what we were experiencing and what was going around us, because I wasn't distracting my brain with what I wanted to say. I was just in the moment, in the zen. I wasn't judging the experience of the drive. I wasn't judging myself. I was in a good state because I'd been away for the weekend. I was just kind of letting myself be there. And I think that's an important thing. We all need to take a couple minutes, whether you do it after this or however you do it throughout the day, to stop distracting yourself with what's on autopilot, because it's so easy now in 2016, in those 10 years. You know, someone comes out of a monastery and might be amazed at how we can stream anything, get information anytime, and we can constantly, placate our own brains. But that might not be the smart decision. So be active today with your brain, and physically active. Try not to make yourself feel bad as a jury. Try not to make yourself feel victimized. Instead, create what you want. Let yourself be engaged. Get yourself moving. And that is the end of today's Morning Deuce. #trending.com. #tell your hot friends. I'm out.